Hello, fellow Yearbook advisors. My name is Eric Hartman, and I am the Yearbook advisor at St. Anne's School in Laguna Niguel, California, and have been since 2013. I've been with St. Anne's since 2007 as a classroom educator when I moved here from Long Island, New York. I originally started as a fourth grade teacher and then moved over to middle school. And when it came time for our former yearbook advisor to retire from that position, but not leave the school, just retire from yearbook advisor, he came to me because I quickly became known at St. Anne for my skill with technology and my creativity. In addition to being a classroom teacher, I'm also as I said, yearbook advisor. I'm also the technology coordinator for technology integration, and I'm also a 7th grade team lead, among other things. So throughout the years, I've been given more and more responsibility because of my accomplishments at St. Anne. So I figured that why not add yearbook advisor to the list? I saw it as a personal challenge to bring something to the yearbook that maybe no one else could. And over the years, I think I've done some very interesting and creative things with the yearbook, but I'm always trying to do more. One of the first things I did in my first or second year, I believe, as the advisor, I added an entire section at the back of the yearbook that was augmented reality, so that I could add content to the yearbook without adding additional pages and, of course, incurring an additional cost. I've done some with the yearbook staff. We've done some very creative covers and some creative themes. I've had 3 yearbook covers that have actually been hand-drawn by students. We have some very talented artistic students at St. Anne. And so having them actually draw out a cover and then having that cover in turn interpreted by the yearbook company, I think brings another sort of personal touch to the yearbook that the staff and I create. Probably about 2 years ago or so, after being told numerous times by our former yearbook company that many of the ideas that I had or that the staff had were impossible to accomplish, I decided it was time to look for a new yearbook company. The staff and I over the years have come up with some very interesting ideas for covers or for the interior based on the theme, and the yearbook company that we previously had before, UYP, would always tell us that it was impossible to do, or it was something that would take third parties, that would cost a lot of money, and ultimately it just wouldn't be worth the effort. So about 2 years ago, I started looking for a new company, and I sent out emails to some of probably about the top 2 or 3 yearbook companies. And strangely enough, I didn't receive any responses. I followed up with other emails. I even followed up with phone calls. And I don't know why, but no one ever called me back or responded to my emails. So eventually I just decided, okay, we're going to go with the same yearbook company for another year. About a year and a half ago, before we started, this is our first year with UYP, over the summer, or right before the school year ended, before the summer, I decided to try one more time. Again, sent out emails, made some phone calls, but nothing. And then one day, I think it was near the end of May, before we had to commit again, I was looking through my emails, and I went to my spam folder to clean it out as I normally do, and there was an email from a yearbook company. It turned out to be United Yearbook Printing, and I decided to check it out before deleting it. And one of the interesting things was when I opened up the email, there was sort of an image that hit me initially, and it was one of the ideas that I'd had a few years earlier. There it was in full color, and I couldn't believe it. Most of the time, I'm sure as many of you do, it is the yearbook staff that comes up with the theme and the cover ideas. What I do is my yearbook is comprised of only 8th graders, and so at the end of the school year, once the yearbook has been put to bed and it's out for print, I then reach out to the 7th graders, who will subsequently be 8th graders the following year, that I want to be my yearbook staff, and to make sure that they want to commit, that they can commit, that they can get up, and their parents can get them up and get them to school at 7 o'clock for the 0 period yearbook. And I usually give them an assignment over the summer, and that is to think about what theme they might want to have for the yearbook the following year. When we come back to school that first week, we meet right away, and then we discuss the themes, ideas that they've had. We write up a list. Sometimes we get 7 or 8 or 10 different ones, and then we basically whittle it down to the top 3, and either the yearbook staff votes on the winner, or we put it out to the entire school, and I have the teachers do a blind vote with their classes and then send me the result. We won't tell the school which theme won. Sometimes we'll do that later in the year. We won't tell them anything about the cover. Again, sometimes more toward the end of the year, I will actually put a picture of the cover on the digital display outside my classroom just to get the kids excited. We do have parents who opt out of purchasing a yearbook. Our yearbook is part of the tuition cost. But if a parent decides they don't want one, they can let us know at the beginning of the year, and they will then be refunded or not charged that cost for the yearbook. But when I display the cover, or sometimes display something about the potential theme, that gets kids talking, and kids whose parents haven't ordered one then go home and tell their parents what they saw, and they get excited about it. And then within a couple of days or even a week, we get those parents coming in deciding they want to order a yearbook. So it's great for our sales, for getting in maybe 5 or 10 or 15 more orders for the yearbook. And when I was looking at that email from United Yearbook Printing, right away, like I said, sometimes instead of the staff, I will also come up with ideas over the summer. And there have been 2 years in all the years I've been doing yearbook where I came to the staff that first week and said, listen, I have this great idea, and I think it would be a great cover. And then the yearbook staff would design a theme around that. And I've been lucky, very fortunate both times, that the yearbook staff, those 2 times, there was 100% buy-in. They loved the idea that I came up with, and so they then built the theme around it. One of those ideas, quite a few years ago, was to do our yearbook as a fairy tale book with make it look, like an old Grimm's Brothers book, worn leather. I'd seen something on a Pinterest page and I really liked it. And then I had an idea of doing one of those elaborate pop-ups in the center of the book. So there would be a 2-page spread, and when you open the book to the very center, there would be this very elaborate pop-up of our school, our campus, but it would be made to look like a fairy tale castle with turrets and the brick, and then a little drawbridge. So when you open it up, the drawbridge came down, and then right on the top there where you could see it would be a little message saying, welcome to St. Anne's School, with our shield. That was part of our branding, our St. Anne's shield. Our mascot is we are the St. Anne Knights, so I was going to have a knight in there, and then maybe some other characters, and then the staff would have to bring each grade level to life as different fairy tale type characters, princes and princesses and peasants and dragons and knights and fairy godmothers and evil queens and that kind of thing. And the company that we worked with said that it would be impossible to do, but our rep did some checking and then said, well, we could do it, but there would be one company that would have to make the pop-up, and the pop-up would just be a flat photograph. So it would just be the front of our school. There'd be no way to alter it into a castle with the drawbridge. And it would basically be a flat image where the bottom part of it would be bent up and would have special glue on the bottom. And then my staff and I would have to place all of those almost 600, we had about 600 orders for yearbooks. We'd have to place the pop-up into the 600 yearbooks ourselves. Now, this company that we use has an 8-week turnaround time. So from when we submit our book until we get it is right after right after Memorial Day, when we come back from our Memorial Day off. And then I have to put them all in boxes and get them to the teachers so they can get them to the students. So that wouldn't work. The other idea they had was that we could then have the yearbook shipped to a company in Mexico, and then that company could put them in for a substantial cost, and then we would have to have all of them shipped back from Mexico to our campus in California. Again, this would incur a very large cost. So there was the cost of the pop-ups, the cost of the shipping, the cost of shipping back, the cost of putting in the pop-ups. So now the cost of the book overall was just skyrocketing. So luckily we found that out very early in the school year, and we decided to just abandon that theme, and we came up with another theme very quickly. The other idea that I had about 2 years ago was often when I would go shopping with my wife and my daughter, we would see these shirts that were sort of a new fad for girls, and it was a double sequin. So it was this image on a t-shirt that was circular, and it was made up of these little circular sequins all sewn in and put in rows. And I think one of the first shirts we saw was a red heart with a gold outline. And then when you move the sequins the other way, it was a gold heart with a red outline. And I thought this was very simple, but a genius idea. I started to see more clothing like that. I eventually, because initially the clothing I think was just targeted at girls, eventually I started to see a few shirts here and there made for boys. Disney was one of the early innovators. They made Star Wars shirts for boys. One way it was Darth Vader, and then the other way it was a stormtrooper. And there was actually a second grader, I believe, at my school that was wearing one day, and I couldn't believe it. I saw it, and I was like, I really want to do this cover more than anything. But again, that company told me it was impossible. Well, after I saw that email from United Yearbook Printing, I went to their website, and lo and behold, I saw a few other of the ideas that I had that the previous company told me would be hard or difficult or impossible, and there they were on United Yearbook's website. So I emailed United Yearbook, and within about an hour, I think I got an email from Sarah, and the rest is history. I gave our notice to the previous company and said, I'm sorry, but we found another company who's going to be able to do the things we want, and the rest is history. What I think is some of these companies, these bigger companies, and I'm sure all of you can think of which companies I'm talking about, but they started off small, and they got bigger and bigger and bigger, and they got so big and they have so many clients that they just don't have the time or the people, the creativity, I don't think, to be able to sort of guide yearbook advisors through the process. There were so many things that Sarah did throughout the year. I remember one of my first meetings with her, I showed her an early yearbook that we did, where we did a version of Candyland. And she looked at the cover and she said, oh, wow, we could have done something on the cover where we could have had scratch and sniff lollipops and candy and all that stuff. And there's this special ink that you put on. And I didn't even know anything about that. My rep from the other company never mentioned anything. They never made suggestions to say, hey, this cover idea is great. Would you like to do some scratch and sniff candy, or would you like to do some this or that? They never did any of that. We just submitted the covers and they said, oh, that looks great. Is it good? Do you approve it? And we approved it, and then they made it. They never made any additional suggestions, which I think is a big loss on their part. And that's what United Yearbook has done. They've helped us and me personally realize a dream for specifically a cover that I've wanted to do for quite a long time. One of the things that Sarah did is she worked very quickly. She and her team worked very quickly with me and my leadership team at school, because, of course, as you all know, I have to get approval. We have to get approval for things. At least I do. I'm sure some of you share that the same way, do it the same way. Your school does it that way, where I have to get it approved by my direct superior. They trust me for the most part, but they just want to make sure that we're doing things that are going to represent the brand well. And so what I did was I was able to schedule a meeting during the summer with my leadership team with Sarah. And she was actually able to make samples for what I wanted. I was also able to contact some of my yearbook staff for the subsequent year and I asked them if they would mind coming in one day for an hour or an hour and a half over the summer to be part of the meeting. They did not. I had 4 of my future yearbook staff there, just so that I could show it to them, so that they could sort of speak for the rest of the staff, as well as maybe the rest of the middle schoolers, in absentia, so to speak. But they loved it, and the leadership team loved it. And we went through that was the first iteration. We went through quite a few iterations just to get the colors for our brand perfect. And that's what Sarah and her team were able to do. These are very creative people. These are graphic designers. These are people who understand that we as yearbook advisors and our staff want to make something that really celebrates our schools and really gives our staff and our students a chance to shine through the theme. A big part of the theme that United Yearbook helped us to realize was, as I said before, the double sequin cover. This is our yearbook for 2019-2020. The staff chose a superhero theme, and we incorporated a kindness initiative. We are a private Catholic school, so we chose a verse from Matthew, "Let your light shine before others," and we have the superhero image on the front, sort of like a Superman ripping open his buttoned shirt to reveal his superhero emblem, which in our case is our St. Anne's shield that shows the year that we were founded in 1992 and includes all of the symbolism that represents our school and our Catholicity. It also incorporates our school palette, the colors from our brand, and we have the shield this way, and then when you move the sequins, we now have the knight, which is Nick the Knight. He's our mascot. We are the St. Anne Knights, and our slogan, essentially, which is "Go Knights." We do that at every assembly, every week, where someone yells out "Knights, yeah," and we yell back "Knights" or "Go Knights." And that's a big part of our identity and also our brand. We have the blue and gray from our brand as well. These sequins are made by H&M, and we had the sequins made for the yearbook, and then we have a surplus which we're going to be giving away to prospective families, as well as potentially making shirts or sweatshirts and maybe some special notebooks with the double sequins stuck to the front. It's just really great to be able to see something that you've envisioned for so long and that you were told was impossible by someone else. And I always think back to a quote that has been a part of who I am for the longest time, as long as since I became a teacher. I don't remember who said it, but the quote is, "Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small minds." And as yearbook advisors, we definitely cannot have small minds. We have to think of what is going to represent our school best and what is really going to give the yearbook that wow factor that's going to have people talking about it for months and maybe even years to come. I'm lucky that every year people tell my staff and I that each yearbook every year gets better and better. And so we're already thinking about next year because we need to do something to top this. I don't know how we can, but we're going to do it. We're going to work on it and we're going to get it done. The spine, we went with just a very basic, the name of the school and the year, the 2019-20. And then on the back, for me personally, I'm a tattoo guy. I'm a big comic book fan, so I have lots of comic book related tattoos, and I've always been fascinated with negative space tattoos, which is where they make the tattoo in such a way that they leave the skin open and the negative space of the skin forms a picture. So we went with a negative space sword. This is our Knight's sword, another part of our brand. And if you come in a little close to see, but it has the name of each of our graduating 8th graders from top all the way to the bottom, right here. And each student gets their own line with their first name appearing on the left side and then their last name going all the way over to the spine. And at the very bottom, we have graduating class of 2020 in gold foil, which the yearbook staff, who is comprised of 8th graders, chose. Having that gold in there is important to them because they've come all this way. And so overall, I think it's just a great yearbook from front to back. It just is amazing, and that's all thanks to United Yearbook. If you have any friends out there who are looking for a new company, if you're thinking about changing companies, I would highly recommend against it. I would highly recommend staying with United Yearbook because it's just a great group of people. They give you everything, and that's what we as yearbook advisors need. We want someone who is going to be there for us. Sarah was always there to answer my emails, take a phone call, even schedule a meeting with me if I had questions or concerns or needed advice. Even whether the meeting was 10 minutes or an hour long, she would come on campus and work with me. And her staff was just phenomenal. So Thank you, United Yearbook, for helping me and my staff at St. Anne's School recognize our vision for the yearbook for 2019-20 and hopefully for many years to come. Everybody have a great day. Stay healthy.